Hello again everyone from Japan, and welcome back to Japan Vintage Camera, where today we're going to have a look at vintage Minolta rangefinder camera, specifically the Hi-Matic 9. Now, if you're interested in purchasing this Minolta or another Minolta, I sell these in my eBay and Etsy stores. I'll post links to my stores in the description below the video. So the Hi-Matic series was produced by Minolta in the 1960s through the early 1970s. There were three main types. The most popular type was the full-size Hi-Matic, which started with the Hi-Matic 7, the Hi-Matic 7S, the Hi-Matic 9, and the Hi-Matic 11. There were smaller cameras like the Hi-Matic C, and then the last cameras were the Hi-Matic E and Hi-Matic F, which were produced in the early 70s. The Hi-Matic 7 through the Hi-Matic 11 were all basically built on the same platform. They were a large, sturdy rangefinder camera designed for use by non-photographers, families who wanted a good camera which was easy to use and which was durable enough to put up with dropping on the ground or rough use, or even for shooting by kids. They were sturdily made and they were designed to be easy to use. There were many different features over the years and different variations, and the Hi-Matic 9 seems to have the best features of all the Hi-Matic series. It has a good size and good heft, and all the controls are easy to reach. Everything is where it needs to be. Compared to the 7 and 7S, it features a faster f1.7 lens and the easy flash system, which allowed you to simply attach Minolta strobe flash, which was quite high tech at the time, to the hot shoe on the top, and all you had to do was set the aperture ring to the flash sync setting, and the camera would do up the rest for you. We'll take a look at the controls on the camera, starting at the top. And at the top we have the film winding lever, the shutter release button, the film rewind knob, and the hot shoe, which I already mentioned, the PC sync here, which allows you to use non-Minolta flash or bulb flash on the camera easily. Also on the side here we have the latch which opens and closes the film door. On the bottom of the camera, we have a release button. You push this button to release the winding mechanism and rewind the film. Tripod socket is here. The standard, I think, was it a 1/4 inch socket? Or is it 3/8? I'm back then. I don't often use a tripod. I think it's a 1/4. All right, and here's the battery cap. These cameras were originally designed to use an MR9 1.35 volt battery. They work quite fine with the wind cell batteries. Personally, I use ordinary alkaline PX625 battery or an LR44 battery with an adapter. There's a cutaway on the bottom here, which makes it easy to load and unload film cassettes. Most of the controls are located on the body of the lens. We have the shutter speed ring is the first ring. The aperture ring is the second one. Behind the aperture ring, we have the selector for the self-timer. Pull this down, wind the shutter, and push the shutter button, and just wait for the self-timer to run down, and the shutter will open and close. On the bottom here, we have the selector for your film speed. If you buy 200 speed film, set this lever here till it lines up with the number 200, and the camera will be set up and ready to go. Compared to other cameras, especially for beginning film photographers or rangefinder photographers, the Hi-Matic 9 is a really good choice. And it's a good choice because it offers full automatic operation. Just simply turn the shutter speed and aperture rings to A, and the camera will work automatically. You still have to compose and focus, but when you push the shutter button, the shutter will select the correct aperture and shutter speed for the shot. You can also work it somewhat semi-automatically. If you leave the aperture ring in A and then switch the shutter speed, then you have shutter priority automatic. So this is good for shooting when you want to get you say you don't want any shutter blur, so you set it at the minimum speed which you won't get blur, like say f60, and when you shoot, the camera will select the best aperture for the condition. For beginning photographers, just set the 2 rings to A, like so, and you're ready to go. Once you learn a little bit more about photography, you can adjust the camera manually to overexpose or underexpose shots for the conditions. The meters in these cameras are pretty good, but they're not quite perfect. For ordinary or everyday shooting, they'll give you really good exposures. For more specialized shooting, it's good to have the manual control if you need it. A word about the self-timers on these. The self-timers on Minolta's and other old rangefinder cameras are the weakest link in these cameras. Often you go to use the self-timer and it'll stick or seize about halfway, and then the shutter won't open and you can't unwind the camera. So I recommend not using the self-timers on rangefinder cameras. Personally, after years and years of rangefinder shooting, I find I never use them anyway, so it's not a feature that I really need. If they do stick, sometimes a couple of drops of lighter fluid right on top of the switch, let it seep inside the shutter, and that will free up the timer. Be careful not to use too much or it'll get the shutter blades and such wet on the inside. Overall, these are a really great camera. They have a nice, very bright viewfinder, rangefinder system. It makes it very easy to focus on your subjects. And unlike SLR cameras, rangefinder cameras allow you to see more of the scene that you're looking at. SLR camera will only show you what the lens is showing, whereas a rangefinder camera can allow you to predict your shot a little bit because you can see what's coming in from outside the frame. That's why these are so popular with street photographers and people who like candid photography. They're very quick and easy to use and not difficult to compose and get a good shot with. Personally, when I shoot with one of these, I like the rangefinder cameras for street photography because they're quieter than SLR cameras, especially digital ones. And for the conditions, I usually just set the shutter speed and aperture for what I need. So let's say like if I'm using Tri-X film, I might set it at say f1.25 at f8, and this will give me a really good exposure for like an overcast day or walking where there's no direct sunlight. And then I set my focus for the size of the image I want. If it's a person, like maybe the top half or the entire or the entire person at the preset distance. And if someone walks or comes within that distance, I just lift up the camera and shoot. I don't have to focus. I don't have to fumble with any controls. I can get a shot really quickly. So rangefinder cameras are quite good for that. But anyway, there's not really much to say about these cameras, the Minolta Hi-Matic. It's a really good and well-made camera. The Hi-Matic 9 is probably the most hard to find of the Hi-Matic series. The Hi-Matic 7S was a little bit less expensive and produced in much larger numbers. There are maybe 50 Hi-Matic 7S cameras for every one Hi-Matic 9. The Hi-Matic 9 is my favorite. I like the lens a little better, but it adds a slightly better lens with all the good features that you like with the Minolta Hi-Matic series. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions about the Hi-Matic 9 or any comments about these videos, please feel free to leave them in the section below. And I'll be adding more videos in the future as I get more cameras ready to go. Please check back and enjoy.